Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews, and my name is John, and I'm continuing my series of the best albums of 2021, where I'm covering different musical genres in rock and metal. In today's video, talking about the top 10 death metal albums of 21. Now, I have been doing top 5s, but now I'm doing the top 10 because it is death metal, and there were like a lot of albums, so I decided to do a longer list with this one. There's going to be some death metal, some like progressive, some melodic, all the subgenres will be included. Remember, if I don't include something, then I may be saving it for another list. So let me just jump right into it so it's not too long. Coming in number 10 is Blood Red Throne from Imperial Congregation. This is a band I discovered this year. They've been around a while. They're a Norwegian death metal band. They're members of like the black metal bands Satyricon and Emperor, but this is old school death metal, kind of more in the style of bands like Death or Obituary. Lots of good songs here. We got Transparent Existence. This one has like a riff, kind of reminds me of that old school like Death, sound. It has the harsh vocals. The guitars have a very crunchy tone. We have Consumed Illusion, another really good one. Lots of speed, lots of heavy riffing. And this one has a little bit of like a groove metal sound as well. But if you like old school death metal, check it out. This is kind of very like a consistent album. You know, it's just front to back, just straightforward death metal. Coming in number 9 is Nervosa with Perpetual Chaos. Now this is a band that I probably could have been on the thrash metal list, but I kind of feel they kind of like, walk the line between thrash and death. But it's an all-female group. You know, they're originally from Brazil, but a lot of the members like left the band last year, and they got some new members, and they're from different countries, such as like Greece and Spain. But very heavy album. We got the title track, has like a drum intro, kind of follows up with some heavy, crunchy riffs, some harsh vocals. Kind of like the vocal style is a little reminiscent of like black metal and death metal. The vocalist Diva Satanica, has that style. But this album has that like heavy tremolo picking, the fast riffing, another great song, Kings of Domination, a little more on the thrash metal side, kind of has those like heavy chords in the intro, but it is a very heavy song, and I do feel there's more of like a death metal sound, so that's why I included it on this list. Moving on, and number 8 is Cannibal Corpse with Violence Unimagined. I've known about this band for years, but I never really got into them until this year. They are one of the forefathers of death metal, and this album proved they still have that staying power, and they are one of the most influential bands in the genre. Some really good songs here. Inhumane Harvest, just straightforward, heavy death metal, just a fast-paced, heavy riffing. We have Surround, Kill, Devour, another great one with the heavy riffs. They've got the blast beats. Corpse Grinder has the heavy, harsh vocals. Lots of technical riffing, and but these songs are melodic enough to be memorable, but heavy enough just to be that really heavy band. So, coming in at number 7 is Rivers of Nile with The Work, and another band I probably could have put it in like the progressive metal genre, but they're like progressive death or technical death, but they are a very complex band. They're very unique, very original. They had the lead single Clean. This had like an atmospheric intro with some like heavy and sludgy riffs, some harsh vocals, and the song has some like quieter parts of some different vocal styles. You got some like softer songs, and then we have The Void, from which no sound escapes. Kind of has like a quiet intro. This one slowly builds up into some more like atmospheric sections. There's some like choir singing, and like the vocals are like very like mixed low in the background, and that kind of like adds to this whole like wall of sound. So there's really like so much going on in this album. They're a very unique band. This is an album you gotta like listen to many times to kind of really get it, but really a great album. I have this at number 7. Number 6, Frozen Soul with Crypt of Ice. So this was an album released back in January. I think it was like one of the first albums released in 2021. I never did a full review. I included it in like albums I missed videos, but really great. It's old school death metal, and they kind of have that recurring theme of like ice and freezing and death. It's their debut full-length album, so they have song titles like Crypt of Ice, Arctic Stranglehold, and Encased in Ice. It's just old school death metal. Got the crunchy riffs, got the harsh death vocals. Some songs are a little more atmospheric, so a song like Hand of Vengeance starts with like a piano intro, but it's just really heavy death metal. Coming in number 5 is Asphyx with Necroceros. They're a Dutch death doom band. They've been around a long time. I've only discovered them this year. Another one, I didn't do a full review, but I included it in my bands I missed video. This is their 10th studio album, and what I like about this band is sometimes they play fast, sometimes they play slow, so you got a lot of variety on the album. So we have the opening track, The Soul Cure is Death, really fast and heavy song with the harsh vocals and intense riffing and drumming. We have Molten Black Earth, a slower song with some doomy riffs. 3 Years of Famine, really cool old school that Black Sabbath riffing in this one. And In Blazing Oceans, just another song that's not too fast, not too slow, but really heavy. So this is just a really great album, and another one I discovered this year. Coming in number 4 is Sanguisugabog with Tortured Whole. This is a brutal death metal band, kind of like a subgenre. I think they call it caveman death metal, where it's just really heavy. They don't really have the solos or lead guitars, just lots of heavy riffs. The band tunes their guitars all the way down, I think to a drop G, and that gives their guitars a very heavy sound. You know, think of bands I guess Suffocation or Dying Fetus, those types of bands. And they're kind of funny, I guess. You know, they have a music video on YouTube called Menstrual Envy, and they have these song titles like Dick Fillet and all these kind of weird ones. But their video was produced by Trauma Films, and you know, they put out that movie The Toxic Avenger. I used to watch that when I was a teenager, and just these B-movie kind of you know, style with these kind of just funny lyrics, but it's just super heavy, and it's just one of those albums, just a fun album to listen to. Coming in number 3 is Memoriam with To the End. So you know, I first listened to this, you know, I wasn't really sure about it, but you know, once I listened to the whole thing, I really like this band. It's old school death metal, but it's heavy and it's also melodic. But the bands are from Bolt Thrower and Benediction. So basically, if you're a fan of the old Bolt Thrower, they do have a similar sound. One good song is called This War Is Won. Just traditional heavy death metal, has that tremolo picking and a fast tempo. We have No Effect, has the melodic guitar playing, and kind of reminds me of some of those later death albums where they got a little more proggy. Failure to Comply, really good song. Kind of starts off with an authority figure speaking over a loudspeaker, kind of similar to how Megadeth did on Endgame. But this one has some heavy riffs, and it's also on the thrash metal side. So coming in number 2 is At the Gates with The Nightmare of Being. So a Swedish death metal band, one of the most influential, and you know, they have that influence of the melodic death metal subgenre. They're from Gothenburg, and that's kind of the center of that Swedish melodic death metal scene. Album is very experimental. They incorporate a lot of different sounds in the mix. So we have a song Garden of Cyrus. So this one's really cool. It's a little different. It has a clean riff, kind of a little bit almost 90s alternative metal, but that's a slower paced song with some heavy riffs. Got the harsh vocals, but some melodic clean guitar solos. They mix in a saxophone at one point, but they kind of make it work. You know, they mix in a lot of different styles and they make it work. Another song, Touched by the White Hands of Death. This one starts with an orchestral soundtrack, kind of sounds like a film score at first, but just fast and brutal heavy death metal with heavy guitars and riffs and blast beats. They mix in a little clean guitars, but this is just one of those albums that you listen to it a lot and you hear all this different stuff, and there's just a lot going on. And my number 1 is probably going to be a surprise, but it is Hypocrisy with Worship. And then it's a band I recently reviewed. It was released maybe a week or 2 ago. It's just a really good album. It's underrated. They've been around since 1991. They're from Sweden. I've never heard of this band before, but when I listened to this album, I just really love this band and love this album. And I also like that, you know, they're a death metal band, but they write about aliens and paranormal experiences, and I think that's pretty cool. Kind of you know, doing something a little different. They've been around a while, like I said. This is album number 13. They're out on Nuclear Blast Records, and I guess you can kind of compare the sound to maybe a band like Amon Amarth or that type of like melodic death metal. My favorite song on the album is Children of the Grey. Just has that like slow clean guitar intro, and it just like builds up with those heavy power chords and the twin guitar riff. The vocals are harsh, kind of has a vocal style reminding me of like the band Creator a little bit, like but with like death growls. I guess at times it does feel a little thrashy, but again, this is just a really good album. That's why I have it at my number 1. So that is all for the top 10 death metals of 2021. If you think I missed anything, don't worry. I will be including it in a different video. I will be trying to do different like subgenres. So I will be doing a couple more this week. Tomorrow I'm going to do the top 5 thrash metal albums of 2021. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe, and check out some other videos. I will put some right over there. And see you all in the next one.